Hello, I'm Gary York, author of Corruption Behind Bars and Inside the Inner Circle. I'm very excited tonight because tonight I want to talk about a touchy subject among the correctional officer members in the United States. And that subject is false allegations against correctional officers. And I want to talk tonight about how it can affect an officer's life, how it can make the officers around the person being accused feel about that officer, and what we must do to stop people from making false allegations against correctional officers. And I want to let you know that I'm not talking just about civilians or visitors making allegations against correctional officers, but our own management in corrections and our own fellow co-workers who may make a false allegation against us for one reason or another, for jealousy or whatever that may be. So it's going to be a pretty good topic. I'm excited about it. I've done investigations that have turned out to be proven false and actually ended up causing an allegation of mistrust against another person, and then we had to take action against that person for making a false allegation. Before I get started, though, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Anthony Ganji from Tear Talk, and thank you for the coffee cup, Anthony. He's a big supporter of corrections, and everybody needs to tune in to Tear Talk, and please subscribe to his YouTube channel. He has some very interesting guests and some very interesting topics, and I'm having some coffee from your cup, Anthony. Thank you. And I also want to give a shout out real quick to Chrissy Fischetti from New York. She's a reporter from New York, and we've been following each other lately, and she's really been helping me with my books and promoting my books on my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It will help, and I'll keep producing training videos as well as videos like this. And yes, sometimes you're going to hear some stories of corrupt officers out from Corruption Behind Bars. Now let me get back to the main topic. False allegations can ruin a person's career. And I, as a prison inspector in the state of Florida for 12 years, have conducted investigations, and some of my greatest moments were not catching the drug ring leaders on the outside and the drug ring leaders on the inside smuggling drugs into a prison. Some of my greatest moments were proving an officer to be innocent. And what really felt good is when that officer, when he or she came up to me and said, "Thank you, Inspector York. I've been here 15 years, 10 years, 8 years, 20 years, 25 years. I've never been in trouble. Now I have an allegation against me like this. It's embarrassing. The other officers are looking at me oddly, like they can't trust me. And now you've proven my innocence." And I tell them that our job as a prison inspector is not to go in and burn everybody. We have to let the chips fall where they may, and we must conduct fair and impartial investigations. And if that investigation leads to finding out that someone made a false allegation against a correctional officer, we need to take action. I, for example, would send my investigative reports to the state attorney's office and to Tallahassee, to our administrative leaders and administrative attorneys up there, and beg them to please take action against this person who made a false allegation against an officer. Let me give you an example. When an officer has an allegation against them and management moves them out of the dorms or off the compound and places the officer onto the guard tower away from the inmates, or outside grounds, or outside maintenance to assist with maintenance while the investigation is going on, or maybe even, depending on the allegation, sending the officer home on administrative leave with pay, or maybe putting them in the gun truck away from inmates. And depending on what the allegation is, the management may make several decisions. Sometimes management just says, "Conduct the investigation," and we'll leave them right here until something's proven. We'll leave them on the dorm. We'll leave them in the compound with the inmates. You have to prove they did that before I'm going to move that officer. But what about the ones who do get removed during the investigation? And the investigation is assigned to me, and I've got 60 days to conduct that investigation. By the way, did I tell you that I have 30 other files that are due in 60 days at various prisons across the state? So I finally get the investigation done before or on my 60-day mark. Well, that's 2 months now that the officer's been away from the inmates. Now the other staff are starting to wonder, did Officer Smith really do this? There must be something to it. He's been out for 2 months now, not allowed near the inmates. They must have found something. I'm sure they found something. Something's wrong. Well, now my investigation goes to the channels, through the regional director of corrections in our area to sign off on it. Then it goes to Tallahassee to be signed off by the chief inspector. Then the chief inspector's on vacation. He won't be back till next week. Another week goes by. Chief inspector gets back, he signs it. Then it goes to the inspector general. Oh, he's out at meetings across the state for the next 3 days. He'll finally get back to his desk and sign it. Now it goes to our legal attorneys. They have to review it. Is there something to it? Is there not? What did Inspector York discover? Well, another month has gone by. Now you've got 90 days. Everybody's convinced that Officer Smith has done something. The report finally gets back to the warden at the prison. All allegations are unsubstantiated. As a matter of fact, Inspector York found out that it was a false allegation made against the officer by another officer. Open a new case file, assign it to Inspector York. Now we're going to investigate the other officer for making a false allegation against this officer. In the meantime, this officer comes back on duty, and I would hope that most of the officers would understand that if the case is unsubstantiated or unfounded, that the officer can come back and be in good view of the other officers. However, sometimes you may still have officers looking sideways and not trusting the officer. And I've been approached by officers before, and they would say, well, you know, Officer Smith's still here, and my God, he was out for a long time. And I would say, well, look, I can't discuss the investigation, even though it's over. If you want to know anything about the investigation, contact our human resources up in Tallahassee. We have the Florida Sunshine Law here in Florida, which is designed to guarantee the public has access to records of governmental bodies in Florida, and that started in 1995. We have the Florida Statute 119 Public Records Law, and depending on the circumstances, if you need to know, call Tallahassee and see if they'll give you a copy or if they're telling you anything. But as an inspector, I cannot go around telling people what I did in the investigation, even if it is a closed investigation. Now, back to the officer who made the false allegations. I've actually had cases where a correctional officer was dating another correctional officer, a male correctional officer, but this other correctional officer was jealous because he liked her as well. Now, the poor female officer in the middle, you know, it's not her fault everybody likes her. But she is getting caught up in a situation she doesn't like. Now we have one of the officers say, an inmate came to me and said, Officer Jones is going to bring bullets into the compound for the inmates, for a zip gun. True story, folks. I'm not making this up. And I get assigned the investigation. And the officer has never had an allegation made against him ever before. He's only been there about 6 years, but he has a clean record. He always appeared to me when I saw him at Hendry Correctional Institution in Immokalee, Florida, as a clean-cut, very good officer, always on time to work and did what he was supposed to do. So it was very odd to me, but then I thought, well, you never know. Sometimes love makes you blind. So I interview the officer who makes the allegation against the one officer. And he said, yes, inmate came to me, and he said that the officer was going to bring in bullets on Wednesday. Well, what inmate did this? The inmate orderly, he works up here in the warden's office. The inmate's orderly from the warden's office told you this. Yes. Okay. I interview the inmate. Yes, Officer Jones has been bringing bullets into inmates. I got scared. He wants me to get the bullets from his truck. He's going to tape them up underneath the front bumper of his truck in the parking lot. And when I take the trash out from the administrative building and throw the trash, he wants me to get the bullets and bring them into the prison, and I'll get paid. And then the inmates have bullets for a zip gun. Well, lo and behold, this really strikes me as odd. So I asked both officers to take a polygraph examination. Now, be advised, polygraphs are no good in a court of law. They're just an investigative tool. They don't mean anything, and they can't be used against you. Administratively, it may have very, very little weight in the warden's eyes, but you have to have more evidence than just a polygraph. Well, the officer accused of bringing bullets for the inmates passes with flying colors. The officer making the allegation against Officer Smith fails the polygraph terribly. I take that officer who failed, and I have a long talk with him on record, tape recorded from the beginning to the end. He finally breaks down and said he made up the story and got the inmate to help him because he wanted to be the only one to date this female correctional officer. Well, he lost his certification for life, fired from the department, and I sent the case to the state attorney's office. And the state attorney refused to press charges since he was fired and can no longer be an officer and lost his certification. I would have loved to see him get criminal charges. Do you know if this case would have went backwards and this honest officer who had false allegations made against him would have been jailed for bringing bullets in? The bullets never made it inside the compound. The officer setting up the false allegation actually taped the bullets underneath the truck. I did wait till that Wednesday, and I went out with the inmate. And I had a long talk with the inmate, and I told him, you work for me now, and we're going to go out there Wednesday and see what we have. And there were the bullets. So anyway, the inmate got transferred, got his disciplinary confinement time at his next unit, and he was special reviewed, never come back to that prison. So in the end, we had an officer that everybody looked at sideways, and it could have really went downhill for him. This is why I get very angry at people that make false allegations against officers. It doesn't matter who you are. Now, we need legislature to enact something stronger than what we have now. If you make a false allegation against a correctional officer, no matter who you are, we need to have criminal punishment, in my opinion. That's only my opinion. Why would I want to place a fellow officer in danger of losing their job and their career because I'm jealous of that officer, because I want that officer's rank, because that officer, I don't like that officer? And that happens, folks, quite a bit. And we need to put a stop to it, and we need to fight it. So that's one example. There's many others out there. If you have any examples and you're listening to this video, please tell us your examples in the comments section. It's always interesting to hear what you have to think. What you have to say, And let's put a stop to making false allegations against officers, because lies hurt people. Lies hurt careers. Lies hurt families. Lies hurt the agency. Lies hurt everyone. False allegations, in my eyes, if proven beyond a reasonable doubt, should get criminal charges. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, everybody. If I left anything out, please put it in the comments section. We want to know what you have to say. Good night from Corruption Behind Bars. I'm author Gary York, Inside the Inner Circle and Corruption Behind Bars. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's brand new. I'm going to have training videos, talks like this, and as I said earlier, yes, I will tell a corrupt officer story from time to time. Thank you and good night.